The Type 21 submarines were a class of German electroboat or electric boat submarines designed during the Second World War. They were the first submarines designed to operate primarily submerged, rather than spending most of their time as surface ships that could submerge for brief periods as a means of escaping detection. They incorporated many batteries to increase the time they could spend submerged to as much as several days, and they only needed to surface to periscope depth for recharging via a snorkel. The design included many general improvements as well. For example, much greater underwater speed by an improved hull design, greatly improved diving times, power-assisted torpedo reloading, and greatly improved crew accommodations. The main features of the Type 21 were the hydrodynamically streamlined hull and conning tower and a large number of battery cells, roughly triple that of the German Type 7 submarine. These gave these boats great underwater range and dramatically reduced the time spent on or near the surface. They could travel submerged at about 5 knots for about 75 hours before recharging their batteries, which took less than 5 hours using the snorkel due to the new supercharged diesel engines. The Type 21 design was presented to Adolf Hitler at a conference on the 8th of July 1943 in order to obtain his approval for additional demands on the industry. The approval was given, and on the 13th of August 1943, an order was given for the transition to building electroboats. A detailed production plan was also worked out between the summer and winter of 1943. At least 18 months were required to build a Type 21 U-boat under a conventional construction procedure, with boats built from start to finish on a single slip. This effectively meant that prototypes would be ready only in November of 1944, and regular production boats would be ready for operational use only in 1946. This was not acceptable for the German Navy. Therefore, the Minister for Armaments, Albert Speer, decided to consult the matter with Otto Merker, who had a lot of experience in mass production, which he gained in the car industry. Eventually, an alternative production method was proposed with the following assumption: no prototypes, prefabricated sections manufactured in parallel in distributed works around Germany, sections to be transported to the shipyard by water or rail, and final assembly of these sections at a shipyard. The method eliminated the bottleneck caused by the limited shipyard resources. Instead of occupying a slip for the entire building process, so for roughly 18 months, it was required only for approximately 80 days of final completion. Hence, the shipyard building effectiveness was multiplied by almost 7. For this war-decisive performance, Merker received the Knight's Cross of the War Merit Cross with Swords on the 28th of April 1944. In November of 1943, a final order for the construction of the Type 21 boats was submitted to 3 German shipyards. die Blom und Voss in Hamburg, the Deschimag AG Weser in Bremen, and the Schickau in Danzig. But production of U-boats by German shipyards had been dramatically reduced as a result of bombing by the Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Forces, necessitating the creation of a bomb-proof production site. Under the codename Valentine, a submarine factory was to be built directly on the Weser River between the Bremen suburbs Reckum and Farge. It was intended that the facility would be used for the final assembly of the Type 21 submarines, starting in April of 1945 with 3 boats, and from August of 1945 a monthly delivery of a minimum of 14 boats. The bunker was to house 13 assembly bays, each carrying out one part of the assembly process. Operations at Valentine were intended to commence by late 1944, but was postponed to mid-1945 due in part to a combination of manpower and supply shortages and, of course, bombing issues. By March 1945, the facility was 90% completed and most of the necessary machine tools had been installed. Production of U-boats was due to begin within 2 months. The factory was under construction from 1943 to March of 1945 using forced labor, but was damaged by air raids and unfinished by the end of the war. Most of the 12,000 people who built Valentine were slave workers who lived in 7 camps located between 3 and 8 kilometers from the bunker. Work on the bunker took place around the clock, with personnel forced to work 12-hour shifts from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. This resulted in a high death rate amongst the prisoners. The total number of deaths may be as high as 6,000, as the names of the Polish and Russian dead were not recorded. In 1983, a memorial to the workers who built Valentine was erected. High maintenance costs forced the German Defense Ministry to offer the bunker for sale in 2008. Military use finally came to an end on the 31st of December 2010. Its custodianship was passed to a group called Denkort Bunker Valentine with the intention of developing it as a museum and a memorial. The group currently offers guided tours of the bunker to the public. The first Type 21 boat to be laid down was U-2501 on the 3rd of April 1944. She was launched on the 12th of May 1944, well ahead of the schedule, and commissioned in June of 1944. 118 Type 21 U-boats were completed, with 4 being combat ready. During the war, only 2 were put into active service and went on patrols, but these were not used in combat. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you, and see you in the next video.